everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central, and we've got some Guns N' Roses news for you guys today. So NPR has an article that I had previously read about before. So their article is about how the U.S. military used Guns N' Roses to make a dictator give up. Now, the reason this article is being published is because if you see all the news, you'd know that Manuel Noriega, who used to be the Panamanian dictator, actually passed away today. And so basically back in 1989, the U.S. military invaded Panama in pursuit of the country's dictator. And this happened in December of 1989. So as Manuel Noriega ran out of options, he took refuge at the Vatican Embassy in Panama City. And basically the U.S. forces did not enter the embassy, but they did concoct a plan to smoke Noriega out. And basically involved music, mostly heavy metal and rock, with a few ballads thrown in, and it was blasted on loudspeakers at deafening volumes around the clock. So let's look at the little playlist that they actually blasted to get him out of the embassy. So one of the songs was Give It Up by Casey and the Sunshine Band, one was No More Mr. Nice Guy by Alice Cooper, and Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Of course, they also had Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle, Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi, and The End by The Doors. And of course, because they were in Panama, they also blasted the Van Halen song Panama as well. Now, apparently Noriega was reportedly partial to opera music. So in addition to the songs I listed, they also blasted Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins and Refugee by Tom Petty. And you have to remember this was the 80s, so the strongman also got an earful of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up, though that may have been intended more for Noriega's hosts at the embassy. And as the standoff dragged on for days, the playlist became part of the story. And not everyone was actually happy with the military's approach, including the White House, and the music was stopped after several days. In fact, President George Bush's National Security Advisor Brent Scowcroft said afterward that he thought the use of high-volume music was undignified. So on January 3rd, 1990, Noriega surrendered to U.S. forces, though not until after he'd been treated to a version of I Fought the Law. And we also have some news from Myles Kennedy. So he was interviewed by Loudwire, and he had a couple words to say about Chris Cornell. He said, he was a talent that comes along once every few decades. So if you guys don't know, Myles Kennedy grew up in Washington, and Kennedy was profoundly influenced by Cornell. He said the Alter Bridge vocalist told Loudwire Nights host Tony Gonzalez he was really one of the architects for what we do. He said he was a talent that comes along once every few decades. He was an amazing songwriter, brilliant lyricist, and obviously had that golden voice. Kennedy also added that he was definitely an inspiration to me as an early artist because I lived in Spokane, Washington, and I remember in the 80s hearing about this band called Soundgarden just over the hill. They were really the first band I was aware of that had the opportunity to take their music to the national level. And the Alter Bridge singer went on to say that Cornell's voice was kind of unparalleled in a way. He also shared a personal story of singing with Chris Cornell at a birthday party for the Soundgarden singer, then wife Susan. So if you guys want to see the full video interview, I've linked to it down below. And we've also got this video which I saw on the MyGNR forum. So it's just a kids talent show where one of the kids is singing Don't Cry by Guns N' Roses, and he kind of has got Axl's moves too. So if you guys want to check that out, I've linked to it down below. And I also want to talk about the gig that Guns played in Bilbao, Spain yesterday. So the big news was that they played Black Hole Sun again on the set list. So I kind of wonder if they're going to continue that for a while or whether they're not going to play it anymore. And Prostitute was actually sound checked at Bilbao as well. And even though it wasn't played, maybe it's been added to the set list. We saw the alternate set list for Slane Castle and it wasn't listed on there, so maybe they're going to add that as a standby song. The other big news was that they did a bit of a tribute to the Allman Brothers, so they played the song Melissa just before Don't Cry. So Don't Cry was alternated with Patience, because Patience is played at Slane Castle, and then Don't Cry was played as part of the encore for the gig in Spain. So they played an instrumental of Melissa before finally playing Don't Cry. So that basically does it for today's Guns N' Roses news, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed the contents of this video, and be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter. The links to my social media channels are down below. Take care.